Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 65. I am your host, Barney Smith of storycomic.com, and we are excited to have with us the internationally acclaimed artist and illustrator, Tadeo Phillips. Tadeo, thank you for joining us. And you are live as this recording in Italy, where it is 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., right? What is it?
1 a.m. Barney, thank you so much for inviting me to your show. Yes, it's 1 a.m. here, but as I said before, I am very night owl, so I know how from. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And so you're originally from Argentina, and that you've moved to Italy. What do you say, about over 10 years ago now?
3 years ago.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And so when you've been, so 3 years ago, so you're living in Italy, and we're really excited to talk to you. When we first reached out and talked to each other, I checked out your artwork you have on ArtStation, some great stuff. And it's the type of art where you said that you can't tell if it's hand drawn or digital. There's definitely a very beautiful style to the work you do. And so before we jump right in and asking about your techniques and your art, do you want to first give our audience, our listeners and our viewers a bit of a background of how you got into illustration?
Sure. Okay, I started, as I said before, with a pencil on a paper and not with a tablet and a computer. That's why I always try to keep a traditional style within inside a digital style. I mean, trying to give to make a mix between both. And yeah, well, I started. I would say that my biggest influences on art is cartoons, comic books, and video games. I would say those 3 are my biggest influences. Yeah, popular 90s culture, and yeah, that's where everything started. I started copying comics, creating my own superheroes, my own characters, writing stories. I always liked writing too, because when you make comics, you also at least have a little taste, a little sympathy for writing.
Right.
So yes, then I would say my travel here to Italy has changed me and changed my life and my career a lot positively, in a positive way. And it changed my art too, my style, my work, my eyes. And yes, here we are.
And so what did you notice that changed within your art style once you moved to Italy?
Well, I have always been a classical art lover, and I would say my favorite art style of art is Renaissance, classic, and 15th centuries around there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, well, that's here. Italy is a paradise for every art lover. If you like, especially if you like classical and the Renaissance art. So I think I improved very much on anatomy, on human figure, on composition, on things, very technical things that could be boring. But yeah, I think there is a phrase by Marcel Proust that says the real something like the real object, the real goal on traveling is not to discover new landscapes, but having new eyes. And I think that's more or less kind of what I experimented on this drum. Uh, I think I have new pair of eyes.
That's interesting because you do bring up, like say like drawing class where people will be drawing this model. All of the pictures are going to be different because they're coming from different eyes. So looking at things in a different point of view essentially gives us all the ability to see new things and things we see every day. So that's interesting.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I would say. Sorry, I would say that just to add something. Um, there, that's you nailed it. You said something really interesting and important, which is about not to see new things every day, but to see everyday things, daily life things in a new way. So I think it's about that.
wow, that's good. So it's not about seeing new things every day. It's about seeing everyday things in a new way. Right. Wow, that's cool. That's a good point. So what I want to do is like I'm just really excited to show the viewers, and then the listeners will describe it to you. Is that so? If you check out if you go to artstation.com, and we'll have the link in the show notes, artstation.com/ Tadeo Phillips, you have some amazing artwork on here, and so talk to us a bit about some of this, some of these drawings, for instance, as you mentioned here, a lot of great, it seems like figures, you kind of gravitate more, towards figures, but I love this one right here. This sketch right here that we're looking at appears to me to be almost, it looks like um, a, a charcoal drawing or essentially. And also, it's a list of them. Okay. So this particular one here, it looks like you see some sort of, it's a black and white picture. Looks like it's some sort of knight holding a sword, walking towards some ruins of a building. Now, how did you draw that? How did you make this? I'm really curious about how you did this.
Well, you say it looks like a charcoal drawing, but actually it's all digital.
Wow.
The difference and the point is I used some special brushes that imitates the textures, traditional textures, and different materials, and charcoal textures, oil textures. And I think that's the main point, the main attraction of this kind of piece, this kind of image. Uh, Trying to, as I said before, to make a mix between
Mm.
uh, traditional and digital. And yeah, well, in this case, I would say it was just a practice sketch, trying to practice some environment and backgrounds.
So did you use on this? Is it, did you use Procreate or Photoshop, or what was the software you used?
It's 100% Photoshop,
It's all
only
Photoshop.
Photoshop. Yes,
Okay.
and with some images from Google, from internet, to try to recreate some textures, for example, or it's called photo beiging, more or less, but not so much. But I tend to use some images to complement, to, to, to complete
Okay.
the image.
So have you always decided to use Photoshop, or have you tried before you started going digital? What else did you use before that?
Yes, actually, it's a really funny story because I started using a very basic software called iPaint.
Okay.
iPaint is, I don't know if you know it, but iPaint is super amateur, basic. But thanks to that, I would say I could use Photoshop better than before. And it's a good starting point. I mean, for everybody who wants wants to start drawing and painting digitally, I would say my paint is a good enough starting.
Okay. Now, so as you say, you use a lot of the stuff you use through Photoshop, and was this something that you kind of learned on your own, or did you watch videos on how to use this, or did you actually through your professional development did you take courses on how to utilize Photoshop?
Um, I always refused it very much about classical formation, classical education, traditional going to school, going to university. And I still do, but now I'm much more freely with that because I'm starting, I'm coming back to classes, but just online classes, something really, really liked. But yeah, I would say my 50% of education was formal and traditional, going to school and all of that, and 50% science 2013, 2014. I started by my own, uh, but not alone, not alone, uh, because it's not always, it's never alone. You have always, uh, when you watch a tutorial on YouTube, there is someone who created that video and who is teaching you something, how to do something. So it's not that you are learning alone. It's not completely alone. There is always someone else who is helping you to learn something.
Yeah.
So I would not say alone. I would say with the internet. Let's say books.
So somebody who's actually, for you who's taking classes, for any artists who are trying to learn illustration and trying to do it digitally, do you feel as though would it be your recommendation to him or her to find a class, or would you recommend to them that you can learn how to do that by watching videos online?
It depends on each one. I mean, it depends on the person. I am also a teacher. I am a teacher, and right now I'm not currently doing giving classes, and I would like to go back to that. And I perfectly know that every person has a different process, different learning process, a different learning speed, different learning method. Is super personal. It's super specific. So, and that's why I don't really believe so much in the educational system, in the actual educational system, because it's very like industrial and very general and very automatized. So it's not 100% efficient. But yes, I would say try everything, and then keep doing what works better for you. And also, I think a good advice would be try to find. I mean, having your favorite artist. Like your top five or top three, for example, and then of course don't put like Da Vinci because Da Vinci is dead. I mean, try to have your top five living artists and find them on social media, find them on the website, on the internet, and try to reach them out to send them a message and ask them if they do workshops, they do online lessons, and try to learn from them. That's important.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we talked about before we went on the air was your ability that you're, as you say earlier, you are like 100% freelance. Like you do a lot of freelance work. So for folks who are looking to kind of do the same thing for you, what would be your recommendation to them is like, how would they be able to find either authors or writers or people to connect with to to get contracts with and work with?
How to get job as a freelance artist, basically. Well, it's the answer is an answer that takes years, but it's very slowly gradual over the years. It's very slow the process, but as an advice or something short and sweet, I would say uh, try to find different sites, and not everything is because, for example, Instagram. Let's talk about Instagram. Not everybody. I mean, Instagram is not for everybody. Maybe try find your way, find your needs, your site, your place, your tribe.
Mm.
Um, maybe Instagram works for someone and for some other doesn't. It does.
Mm.
Or in my case, for example, Facebook works excellent. I
Mm.
mean, the most part of my projects, I get them from Facebook, and everybody tells me asks me why I don't use very much because I use Instagram, but I don't get so many projects from there, and they ask me why, but I don't know. I just don't. It doesn't work for me,
Right.
and I don't know. Just don't follow the popular trend just because it's popular, because that's not that's not logic. That doesn't work. Try
Right.
to find also Reddit. Reddit is a very good social media. LinkedIn. I don't know, TikTok, for example. I don't know if you can get some freelance projects as an illustrator from TikTok, but it's important to be in TikTok. I mean, anyway,
Right.
uh, but try to find your social media. Your maybe it's not a social media. Maybe it's a forum. For example, there are lots of forums, super cool forums, and nothing.
Do you have so who do you so through some of your freelance work that you've done, where do you seem to be gravitating more towards when it comes to what type of artwork are you providing? Is it mostly, you know, concept art, illustrations? It's and what genre do you seem to be people go towards you more like role playing games or comic books? What seems to be your where you get most of your work in?
Well, that's very like a paradox because the most you do something, the most people ask you to do that.
Yeah.
That's very that's a paradox, but it's good as long as you like what you're doing is all right. And mostly, I would say mostly I do horror. If I have to put some genres or some labels,
Yeah.
horror, sci-fi, fantasy, realist. But yeah, commercially speaking, commercial talking, I would say yes. Movie posters, storyboards, concept art for video games, advertising, and I try to. I am right now. I'm trying to get into the comic book horror,
Mm.
but I always try it, and I mean it's not a new thing,
Right.
but I try to. I'm putting more effort now.
And what about this one? I think this is kind of like cross genre here, where you have a picture of Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Chewbacca, and Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Millennium Falcon, and it looks like Luke Skywalker is the dungeon master, and they're running a D&D campaign.
Yes.
Where did this guy? Was this someone that somebody asked you to draw, or is this one of your own ideas?
Yes, it was a commission. It was a project that they asked me, and yeah, someone who is really a fan of Star Wars and D&D fan, and yeah, he wanted to join his his two most bigger.
Yeah.
biggest passions, and just uh, yeah, they are playing D&D. It's very it's strange. Yeah, it's a very it's
Right.
crazy, the crazy image.
No, did you?
I particularly like how I did the Han Solo character.
Right.
I think if you crop the Han Solo, you can have a good image.
Yeah.
Just with that. Okay, it was really fun to do that. Mostly because I am a Star Wars fan. It's good to draw characters that you really like.
And how much? Because you mentioned before, you mentioned earlier that you kind of started getting into drawing while you're making comic, working on your own comic books and stuff. Is there also some projects that are you doing that are for you that you in your own in any of your own stories and books that you're working on?
Personal project.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, currently not so much because I always try to find projects and work on projects that I like. So I say that I already enjoy what I am working on. So it's not that I don't do that separation between my work, my life, my commercial projects, personal projects. No, I really enjoy everything. So I don't have a problem about. I mean, I don't suffer. It's not something that I don't like. Of course, there are things that you have to do to get to improve. I mean, yes, you have to work on. You have to learn perspective. For example, you have to learn so many things that. But you know that after learning that, your work will be much better. You make that effort. But personal projects, no. What I really like to do is studies. I mean, I know copying the master copies from famous paintings. I like so much to copy from Rubens, to copy from Rembrandt, from Caravaggio. Well, here I have the actual example to see uh, live, right? See with my own eyes.
Right.
So yeah, I try to enjoy that. I try to take advantage of that I have it in front of me.
Right. Do you ever feel like when you when you want to work on your own stuff, do you do that before you're working on a contract of work to kind of warm up, or do you do it after you're done, like at the end of the day as a wind down? Where do you put in your own hobbies and works?
Yes, I always try to. It's like a theater show. Before the function, before the show, you have to do rehearsals, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, it's the same for painting. Well, but it's not. I mean, it's nothing new. The, the most famous painters has always been doing studies and sketches before
Right.
doing a big painting, right? So yes, I always try to, and that's the part that I enjoy the most. I mean, be prepared, be ready for
Right.
the big picture. And yeah, for example, now I am doing a movie poster for a director called Sam Palermo. Hi Sam, who is doing was doing a movie, and the poster is a girl, is a puddle of blood, is a horror movie, it's a puddle of blood, and a face of a girl reflected, like screaming, like horrified, and a telephone. And for this poster, for example, I try to look for telephone images and Google screaming woman, for example, and Google puddle of blood. So if you look, I think if you look for my Google Chrome history, you will find things that I don't know, very strange. you know, you go to my history on Google Chrome or Brave, and you find Bottle of Blood. I mean, what the fuck? If the police come to my home and look for my history, I don't know. But no, that's the truth. It's just for study purposes.
Right. Now, talk to us about also about the actual physical way you do it. You say you use Photoshop. Do you use like a whack, like a tablet for drawing it, or do you use a mouse? How do you get that all in?
Yes. I use a Wacom Intuos 5, which
Okay.
is one of the most basic. I think that it's not really necessary to have the most new tablet or the most new. Well, it's true. Is that true that a good computer, a good if you have software and everything is better, of course. But in about the tablet, I don't think it's very necessary to have the newest one. I don't know. I'm very happy and I'm perfectly okay with my Intuos 5, which
Right.
costs like $70. I think it's very cheap, and I'm perfect. I really don't want. There are some tablets, super fancy tablets like the Cintiq, Photon Cintiq.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the where you have the screen on there, and you actually draw there. But I know I tried them. But I'm good like that.
Right. And
Sometimes the most expensive or the newest is not always the best.
right. That's true. That's true. And so talk to us a bit about also this is for some other advice for artists that are trying to go into freelance work. What do you do with the actual like contracts? What would you be some of your recommendations to when you make a contract with either an author or a client who says, I want to have this and this, I want to have certain things by certain dates. What's some of your advice you would give to artists who want to go into freelance work, and what should you have as that professional contract in place?
I think the best contract is having a good relationship.
Mm.
Uh, First of all, that. And then, yes, try always to put everything clear. Like, I will do this, and this, and not more like this, not more than this. And yeah, just having a rate sheet, a rate, at least cost,
Right.
and well, always try to. I usually my work process, my workflow is my client tells me an idea or a script or tells me what they want. I make a sketch, a simple basic sketch that takes me no more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Hmm.
So it's not a really, it's not a big risk for me. And also it gives the client some trust, which is very precious. And I charge, if the clients like my sketch, I charge the 50% of the project.
Okay.
Then I complete the job, and then my clients complete the payment. That's
Okay.
my. I know that I am risking more than my client, but I try to build my brand, my personal brand, with reputation and with good relationship. So
Right.
coming to coming back to the beginning of the answer, I really think that the best contract is the good relationship.
And because of that, do you see a lot of returning like customers or clients will come back and say, we had a really good time. Can we hire you again?
Yes, I every time. I mean, I need less. Every time I need less to promote and to get new clients and to. Of course, I still do it because it's important, super important. But I try to always have frequent clients, frequent projects.
Right.
Right now, for example, I just remember you made me remember that I am working on a storyboard, a big project, of a storyboard from a client, which was my first client, my very first client on 2017, and I never worked again for her, Vera Brooks, hi Vera, but it's really crazy because I mean coming back, all those years have passed, and I started with her. She was my first client ever, and now it's my newest client. So it's like a cycle. I don't know. I really it's really crazy,
Mm.
but yes, I like it.
And what would be your advice for artists who want to do freelance work? What would be some of the, as you got, like a red flag or something that for them to be aware of, if like if somebody reaches out to them and asks for work and this potential client does something that you would say I would not work with them, what would be some of those warnings?
For me, it's very important. You know that the intuition, and you know what I always say. There is something I always say. I think when I go to a bar or a restaurant, I don't care only about how the bartender treat me, but also how the boss treat their employees.
Mm,
And that's the moment where I say when I realize if that's a good client or that's a good person or that's a good boss or not. I don't care how you treat me. I don't care how you treat your employees.
right.
And that's just because I wanted to state that treatment, that the attention, the communication is one of the top three things to keep in mind. The communication, if a person is very unpolite, I mean, it's not very polite or very educated, very nice to talk with, I would say, I don't know, I I don't trust him
Mm,
or her.
right.
And so yeah, first of all, good communication, and also try to, if the person starts saying like, no, but I don't know if I can pay you, or I don't know if I want. I mean, the basic problem number one, and it's okay, it's understandable, but the number one problem is clients mostly don't know even what they want.
Mm,
That's the biggest challenge. I mean, try to enter to their minds and understand what they want and communicate them. You know, you want. I mean, I see that this is what you want. Am I right? Yes, you're right. I mean, that's the biggest challenge to do that telepathic process. You know, and yeah, so try to understand, to connect deeply, really deep, with what they want. And if the person is not very polite, or there is not communication, wrong way.
right. And when you make work for when you put in those commissions, is there something that you make sure is in the contract where you still have rights to the image, or do you charge more if they give the whole, if you have no rights to the images or anything?
I totally give the absolute rights to my client. I don't care.
Okay,
It's all good.
right. And do you see a lot of the work you do is, do you feel more comfortable using, because we've seen some of your black and whites, but you also see some of your colors. Do you prefer one direction over the other? Do you prefer working in black and white, or do you prefer working in color?
Um, Honestly, I prefer black and white.
Oh yeah.
I know that color is commercially really important, really eye catching, really is important. The color. But I think that's because of my experience. I don't know why, but I drew much more than what I painted, and I'm not proud of that. I mean, I know that actually right now, currently, I'm working very much. I'm putting so much effort to try to improve my painting skills, not so much my drawing skills. Uh, but yes, I have very a big attraction to art to drawing and paint
Right.
black and white.
Yeah.
All kind of.
Right. And do you
Do
see
you hear
yourself?
me? Do you hear me well? Right? Do you hear me
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, yeah. Do you see yourself as well doing with COVID-19 in this past year? We've been in it for over a year now. Uh, how has this affected your work? Have you seen that you've been getting more contracts or less, or how has that been going for you as well?
I'm really sad for all the world. I hope everything gets better,
Right.
but I really think that COVID has happened for my work because it has been I mean I got more projects and my work has improved since COVID started. Uh, yeah, I don't know why, but I think maybe in generally in the on the entertainment industry, there has been a really big pump, a really big hype, uh, and yeah, everyone is consuming more entertainment more than
Hmm.
ever. The offer of entertainment is bigger than ever. We have Netflix, we have Amazon Prime. I don't know if I can name brands. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
that's fine.
okay. But yeah, we have more entertainment than ever in the history of
Right.
the world. And yeah, since COVID started, I think there was a race on the entertaining industry.
Right. And so we're looking at right now too is we're looking at this is a picture of it looks like it's a colored illustration of it looks like a dragon seems to be blowing fire down. Was this a drawing you did on yourself or was this a commission?
This is a commission. This is a commercial project for a D&D game.
Okay.
And yeah, the main idea was, of course, the dragon in as a central character. But I have to say, this is not completed. If you look at the skies on the top, the image is not very completed. I
Okay.
still have to work on it. But in the final product, there wasn't. I mean, that part of that top part, uh, it wasn't there. So there was no problem of that.
That's amazing. And this is all digital. This is all done
All
digitally.
digital, yes. I like
Wow.
it particularly. I especially like the clouds, the smoke on the sides
Yeah.
because it has like again this traditional texture, this this texture that looks like not very digital, not very computer made, and I like that part especially.
Right. And you also have, I've seen that you're also able to have um, a store yourself. Is this another option that you would recommend for artists for a passive income? Is to try to put out some of your artwork that people are able to buy?
That's different. 86 is a very different thing. Yes, I would recommend that. for not only for artists, for illustrators, uh, also for photographers, designers, uh, all kind of visual creatives. And
Hmm.
yeah, Society Six is I took it like an experiment, like something that I wanted to try and see what happens, and it resulted very well. It went very well. I really saw pretty much things, and yeah, I think the key of Fate Six. Of there is another one called Red Bubble.
Right.
There are lots of that. There is another called Curious, and so many of that. Fine Art America. But Fine Art America is not focus. It's only frames, prints,
Right.
and yeah, it's. I mean, if you see the style, is different. If you put popular with say sort by popular, if you change, you can see uh, my other artworks,
Okay.
and yeah, I mean, I think in this case in Society Six or Red Bubble, what works better is something that is very pop art, super colorful, super glowing,
Right.
super pop.
And you also have a you also have a YouTube channel, and your YouTube channel is so most of this is in Spanish, correct? A lot of these videos.
Yes, yes, yeah. This is another experiment. This is another experiment that I want to see how it goes, and yeah, I like to do videos because video is the number one marketing tool for this year, and
Right.
it's super precious to promote your work and to show what you do, especially if you do something that is related with visual or audiovisual,
Right.
and that's why I like to do videos to show another way to show my work. You can see the process of the drawing. You can see some tutorials of voiceover by me explaining how I do something in Spanish, of course. I will try to do one in English, and yes, it's about that. It's all about process and show your work in a different way.
Which is good because I see like some of these things you have how to draw hands. Artists, I don't know who it is. Some artists will always struggle on how to draw hands. Seem to be always one of the harder aspects of figure drawing. And
Exactly.
you know, and do you and it looks like too you have you got some good views on these as well. And this is mostly also, as you say, it's Photoshop. You're showing people how to do this through Photoshop, correct?
Yes, it's always Photoshop. I'm trying to now. I will start to do. I have a really a very how do you say to paint.
Hmm.
I don't know how to say that, but the tripod like a tripod paint,
Right.
and I will start to make some videos on traditional with the camera and filming the
Okay.
paint.
Oh, you like your live stream drawings? Is that what you?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not digital. Traditional.
Right. Traditional where you draw it out with a camera. Like, okay.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. That's great. So what can people expect from you in the future? What do you have coming? What are you working on now that you can share with everybody?
Well, right now I have mentioned some projects. I'm working on several storyboards in several free posters,
Okay.
in some character designs for well those ones on the bottom. They are all part of the same project. which I'm working on,
Okay.
and for I think under Hive, and yeah, then the other ones are always board games, also for board games, RPG games, and
Okay.
D&D and all that stuff, super fantasy and that. Yeah, that's an example of that style. That's very old. I'm
Okay.
looking at that and I see a lot of mistakes. Yes. And yeah, movie posters,
Right.
mostly movie posters.
That is fantastic stuff. That is great. Do you have so is your art station, is this your primary access point where people can find more of your work?
Yes, yes. Is I mean, I try to have always my work in different parts, in different sites. But yes, this I think this is my most complete site on internet where you can find the most part of my on art station. Of course,
Okay.
I have also an Instagram or a Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, etc.
Okay. Yeah.
LinkedIn. That is a video. There is a mini video that I made, like showing the process on different
Okay.
stages. Uh, and I think that's what I was saying about the video. That is very precious, uh, very good to show it in a different way, not only with images but with video.
Right. So that's what you do is you take someone's face and you kind of impress it onto like a different drawing. Is that
Yes, this
okay?
is a poster that I recently finished it for a movie. For a yes, I mean it was a fantasy. It's a movie about two witches,
Okay.
and one of the actresses has worked with David Cronenberg, so it's Lynn Lowry, and the other one is called Angel Bradford, and that those are the actors. And yes, it's the poster that it was a really good project.
Hmm. Wow, that's and this was something that oh, wow, that look that's the art you did on this is like we're watching these step by step tutorials on how to make this picture is amazing. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes, I think that's the most interesting part where you see. I think many times it's better to see the sketch, the previous sketch, the first layer of the painting than the completed painting. Because on the sketches, if you want to learn how an illustrator does his work or her work,
right,
the most important thing or the most important part where you can learn from is the sketches.
right,
Most more than the final
right,
work because
and
you see like the skeleton.
right, and you build it out. That's yeah, that's amazing. And so people can see a lot of these tutorials and stop motion time lapse tutorial videos on your YouTube, which is youtube.com/Tadeo Phillips.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. And I can't remember. Do you have a link to that through? I think you have a link to that through your art station as well, don't you? I believe.
Maybe I don't remember, but
Yeah.
it's very easy to find. Just put Tadeo Phillips YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is great. So we mentioned it before. So your landing page, a good place for people to see all of your work is going to be at artstation.com/Tadeo Phillips. You have as you say, and then through there you'll have you got a YouTube channel that's on there, which is youtube.com/Tadeo Phillips. And on there you can then you have your links on there to you go to your about, and then you have, links to your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You got eBay on there, and you got Patreon on there too. Do you want to?
Yeah, that's
Do you want?
another experience.
Yeah,
Another experiment.
and that's another experiment. And so you mentioned too, as your Patreon page, checking out, and I really was extremely intrigued by your Patreon page because it looked like you have a lot of different options for people to look at. And but you definitely do have, I think so, definitely another option is going to his go to the YouTube page under Tadeo Phillips, and on there you do have your links to Patreon, eBay, Instagram, and Twitter. And I love your Instagram pictures, because you also see kind of a day in the life of Tadeo as well. You see some paintings and some sculptures that you seem to really play up being the tourist for your first few. It looks like for your first few bit in Italy as well.
Yeah, exactly. My Instagram is like I have two accounts. One of the art, which is Tadeo Phillips art, and the other one is Tadeo Phillips. Just that it's more like my journey through here and through different museums, churches, and art places.
So great opportunity for artists out there who want to learn how to draw Yoda, how to want to draw a stormtrooper, Darth Vader. You got the whole game. You got Daredevil here as well. Yeah, huge fan of Daredevil. So
my favorite superhero.
Yeah,
he's together with Batman.
So definitely, if you guys have the opportunity, check out Tadeo's work. He does some amazing stuff, and authors out there or artists or writers who are looking for somebody that fits within his style of drawings, definitely definitely reach out to Tadeo. So thank you very much. This has been a true pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much to you, Barney. It was really cool. And yeah, let's do another one. I don't know. Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. To look at, and just for transparency's sake, I was gonna pull it up for people to look at it, but you do have a warning on here that says must be 18 and plus over. So
yes, just to be sure, because I sometimes I draw, I don't know, naked figures.
Right. Yeah. Those darn Americans, and see if it was in Italy, it wouldn't be a big deal, or France, or one places. Yeah.